is higher than some of the OECD countries, while our emission per capita is also higher than China, Brazil, and India, which are also, by the way, coal-based economies. This is serious. And in the light of this, ladies and gentlemen, our country has undertaken very proactive steps towards reducing our emissions through determining the long-term mitigation scenarios, but also developing the greenhouse gas inventory, defining our climate change policy direction, as I indicated earlier on, that policy direction which I said would be gazetted soon. We have done that, by the way, through multi-stakeholder process, which has involved discussions even with people from the private sector itself, NGO sector, and many throughout the country, because we've got to ensure that we really take our country along in whatever we do. Whatever we say, it shouldn't be government position alone. It should be our country's position. Climate change is fueled by a carbon-intensive global economy. And the new global agenda on climate change, ladies and gentlemen, is intended to create a new green economy that is less carbon-intensive in a bid to limit the greenhouse gas emissions. A less carbon-intensive global economy explores new ways of doing business, which promote efficient use of resources, leading to significantly reduced greenhouse gas emissions. And when the Carbon Disclosure Project, which we are gathered here today about, whose report, by the way, is so good, I've already scanned the report, by the way, earlier on before I came in here. When your project first challenged our companies here in South Africa to measure and report their carbon emissions and integrate the long-term cost of climate change into their risk assessment, few companies had the level of understanding, as we noticed, or even the quality of responses that they have today. As the level of understanding, or their level of understanding, ladies and gentlemen, of the issues carried on to improve, so have the number of companies taking positive action to mitigate the risks of climate change. And we are glad about this. We need to commend you for this action. We'd like to also encourage you to keep it up, even to follow up on those companies that have not yet responded. I'm told that it's about a small percentage that has actually not responded, but the other percentage that has responded by saying, no, we are not coming on board. That still needs to be followed up. Congratulations, and thank you very much for the work that you do. For the business sector, climate change, ladies and gentlemen, is a risk management issue, whether formally acknowledged or not. And the cost of climate change, the no action thereon, now outweigh the cost of action. And the sooner positive action is taken, the greater the economic benefits. I think all of us realizes this, and we're glad that we are moving together in this regard. It is now difficult for all of us, I presume, to identify a sector of the economy that would not be affected in some way or another by climate change. And business is therefore expected to take a lead in this regard, as you have already done, because this is indeed a good way of doing things, not to be regulated all the time. We therefore, in this regard, ladies and gentlemen, would like to once again commend the top 100 companies that are listed at JSE for demonstrating leadership and responsibility by disclosing your carbon footprint, as well as ensuring that you put plans in place to reduce it, and thereby contributing to mitigating climate change. Tackling climate change successfully requires actions on many fronts, ladies and gentlemen. And the involvement of both the public and private sector is indeed a high imperative. And the private sector is encouraged to scale up investments, also report accurate information on company behavior, such as on your climate risk and liabilities. We need the benchmarking tools that are provided by this Carbon Disclosure Project, which you worked on for 4 years now, to guide the current and future investment choices, to increase investment flows, and also to align corporate incentives and for low carbon growth, as well as ensuring that we move towards the right direction in ensuring that we increase corporate social responsibility. As business sector, ladies and gentlemen, your investment in climate change will minimize risks and maximize opportunities, such as eco-efficiency initiatives and the efficiency use of resources, particularly energy, is the first place where direct cost savings can be achieved. You summarized it very well, ma'am, when you really got off in what we read, or as we're listening to what Exaro was saying. Energy efficiency is the first place to look at. And as you may remember, the government of South Africa and the business sector agreed to pursue the long-term mitigation scenario, the study in a bid to curb greenhouse gas emissions. And it is very encouraging to find out that as companies, you are taking early actions to mitigate the risks and take advantage of your commercial opportunities of low carbon and clean technologies in order to promote the transition to a green economy in South Africa. Again, thank you very much. I will not stop thanking you and really appreciating the work that you do. In addition to adaptation and mitigation as a business sector, you will need to discuss technology needs for a low carbon economy, as well as the possible mechanism to finance these at local level. And I want to move towards conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, because I really didn't intend to be long tonight. Having listened to these wonderful speeches that you have given and also informative programs that you have embarked upon, I think we really need to get on to work. However, it must be emphasized that a high carbon emitter, South Africa, has the responsibility to demonstrate leadership on the continent. Our continent needs our leadership. That we hear every day, that we hear on an ongoing basis. And such leadership must be accompanied by target setting, measurement, and verification of performance. Greenhouse gas emission reporting by industries will soon be mandatory in South Africa, and non-compliance shall be met by penalties. I think that's what you asked for as well. I heard that very well here tonight, and thank you very much for that. So for those of us who are not yet on board, you have heard it. It's not just coming from us, it comes from you as well. It is therefore to the benefit of industry to take a lead in reporting greenhouse gas emissions to avoid such penalties, but also risk litigation risks. We also want to ask that as we do the measurement, as we disclose, we should also try and move at the same time towards adaptation, because that is where things are much more difficult. And industries that have taken the lead in the